So a conversion event is a high-value action that a visitor might take on your website, which you want them to do more of because it'll generate more value for you or your business. So this is something that goes beyond just a simple click or a scroll or a hover. It might be a click on a specific button. It might be adding something to cart, filling out a specific form, scheduling an appointment, or checking out, for example. And so it's important to track this because, again, Crazy can track things like heat maps and track a lot of those specific standard interactions like a click or a scroll. But we want to track those high value conversion actions as well because it allows us to focus on more reporting and filtering that's specific to tracking what can help us drive more of those conversions. So let's give maybe a few examples, and we'll show the setup options for that in Crazy in the process. So if I go into the conversion setup process, and I select this for a given site, it gives me the option to set up a conversion. Now this gives me some options. If I already have Crazy installed on my website, I can just simply track conversions as when someone clicks a certain button. So for example, it can be when, let me type that in .com. I can type in the URL for a specific page that I want to track, and then highlight a specific button that I want to track. Say clicks on this link up here. So I can track that without and select it within Crazy, and as a result, without having to add additional code or tags to my website, I can start tracking clicks on that element, on that button or that link as a conversion event. I can do the same by, for example, tracking number of people who convert by reaching a certain page. This works really well, not just when you might want to track something that's more middle of funnel, like say visits of a certain PDP or a lead generation page, but it might also be something like a confirmation page or a thank you page, which is just a very clean and easy way to track when someone has successfully completed the flow. You can also track when someone fills out a form. So, for example, if I were to find if there were a form that existed on this example page as well, just like I selected that button, I could select that form, and then Crazy will just automatically be able to track any submissions of that particular form, and will record that as a form submission. There are some other examples as well. So for example, if you're an advertiser or if you're in commerce, some very common platforms that you'll send conversion data to as well are advertising platforms like say Google Ads, Meta, TikTok. You might send this to an e-commerce platform like a Shopify or a WooCommerce or a Squarespace. You might even send this to another analytics platform like Google Analytics 4. And when we do that, we're able to detect when conversion data is sent to these platforms, but we don't normally track it and then store it unless you tell us that this is an important conversion event for you and that you want us to store that data for you. And when that's the case, if it's GA4, just give us your GA4 measurement ID and the event name. Maybe you give us the e-commerce platform that you want to track and which kind of event you want to track. Or, for example, say I want to track which advertising platform I want to track. Then give us the pixel ID and the name of a pixel event as well. Now, if you use Google Tag Manager, or if you simply just prefer to do this through code, then you also have the option to get this custom HTML tag, which is basically just a custom event script. Paste this into your site and have it execute whenever that particular conversion event happens. So this might be, for example, when someone visits a thank you page, you paste this into your page so that you can trigger that to Crazy Egg that yes, this is a conversion event. But if you also use Google Tag Manager, put this in as a custom HTML tag and have this trigger whenever the GTM trigger happens, and you'll be able to basically replicate whatever tag and trigger hierarchy and setup that you're already using. Last thing to note as well is for more advanced users, like say, for example, if you use server-side conversion tracking to get really precise conversions, we have an API. So go to Options and then select the settings for your site, and you'll see here there's an option for API keys. This is the information that you need to track your API, and so when you select this option, it'll give you an API key, and then if you click here, you'll get more instructions on how to connect with Crazy Egg's Conversions API. And as a result, you'll be able to send data on your conversions straight from your server straight to Crazy Egg and get that maximum precision possible. Now, let's look at what functionality we support by tracking those conversions. So number one is as soon as we start tracking a conversion, we're going to see here that We can see the number of total conversions on any given day. We can track the number of unique visitors converting. And if you pass a conversion value along with that conversion, then you can see the value of that as well. So this might be, for example, how much revenue you have gotten from checkouts. If you're an e-commerce site, you can track that here. We also have the ability to track multiple triggers for a conversion. So, for example, say you have one conversion, you have multiple confirmation pages for a checkout, and you want to just simply track every single one and put them all together and track those as successful checkouts. You can set up multiple triggers in the conversion setup flow that I just showed you, and that'll get tracked here. And as a result, you'll get this data broken out not just by day, but also by page, and we'll provide metrics for how many conversions, how many visitors are converting, and how much conversion value is driven by individual pages as well. This also informs some other functionality here as well. For example, you can set up notifications. So for example, if you want to know every time that a sales form gets submitted, you can set up notifications, and this means you'll either get a Slack message or a Slack notification, an email confirmation or message. You can make an API call or a webhook call, or you can use a Zapier trigger. This will trigger Zapier, which you can then map to any number of zaps that you need, and therefore do a lot of potential other automation as well, just within Zapier. So let's talk about what conversions can be helpful, right? So number one is within heat maps. If you go to any given heat map, then you can actually filter a lot of this data. So for example, I can track specifically just heat map engagement data for people who did or did not go through a particular conversion. And so therefore you can see more information within your heat maps. The AI analysis within heat maps also leverages conversion data as well. So if there's interesting conversion trends that the heat map is detecting in the page, you'll be able to start seeing more insights from that AI analysis. How about recordings? So for recordings, I can apply filters and also see with the event log about recording when a conversion happens. So for example, I can see here, okay, show me all recordings where the visitor either did all of a given set of conversions, or conversely, did any of them, or did none of them. I can add multiple conditions for this as well, right here. Conversion is also a pretty critical element for A/B testing. So you can see here, for example, that when I set up an A/B test, I'm focusing on, okay, which A/B testing variant converted more. Now, the thing about A/B testing results is that I can click and check how different conversion events are performing for any given A/B test, as long as I've already set up that conversion to track before the A/B test was launched. And this is helpful because sometimes you think that an A/B test is going to affect one kind of conversion, but it ends up being helpful for another kind of conversion. Sometimes an A/B test you don't get enough data for it to help on checkouts, because that's very far down the funnel, but you find that, okay, well, at the very least, we'll be getting more people to add a product to cart. This is helpful because at least if you're able to track top, middle, and bottom of funnel conversions, then you can do a lot of exploratory analysis here as well. And the last thing to note is that you can use this for funnels. So whenever I set up funnels in Crazy Egg, I can track basically if there's a set of conversions, say like I mentioned, for example, people getting to a PDP, then adding to cart, then a checkout, I have to go through a certain number of steps just to get to that final checkout. And I can test how many people get to each stage, or do they not drop up, do they not successfully do it? And so I can play around with these different conversion events. I can also change the order, because the funnel tool within Crazy Egg for analyzing conversions, it's not a matter of you have to set this up and then report starts populating. It's an exploratory sandbox tool, and it goes back and retroactively looks at all your conversion data. So as long as you've taken the care to set up conversion tracking sooner rather than later, you're going to have more data to play around with and to analyze within the funnels tool in Crazy Egg as well. All right, so definitely conversion tracking is 100% free for all Crazy Egg users, no matter what plan you're on. And you'll see here how it's helpful even if you don't have heat maps, recordings, or A/B testing. But if you even plan to set up heat maps and recordings and A/B testing at some point in the future, you should start tracking conversions right now, so that when you get access to a plan that has access to those features, then you'll already have data to start working with. So it's just a good idea to start tracking this because it's free, and you might as well have more data ready to work with once you're ready to start looking at it.